How did you get revenge on your horrible coworker? I had been at a tech company for almost 5 years when Todd joined our team. He seemed polite and eager to fit in. I remember thinking he was one of those who learned everyone's name too fast. When he introduced himself, I offered to show him around and help him settle in. I even took him out for lunch that first week. For a while, things felt normal. He asked many questions, brought up interesting ideas during meetings, and seemed grateful for the help. I thought we were off to a good start. Then, little things started happening. During team meetings, I'd bring up an idea, and Todd would cut in before I could finish explaining it. Sometimes he'd act like he didn't hear me and pitch the same idea using different words. When I confronted him after one of the meetings, he laughed and said he was just building off my points. I didn't push it. Maybe he was just trying to prove himself. By the third month, things got worse. Files I'd uploaded to our shared drive disappeared without a trace. At first, I assumed I had forgotten to save them, but when it kept happening, I brought it up with my manager, Diane. She looked concerned and told me to be more careful with my work. She said I was under a lot of stress and maybe just needed to slow down. I knew something wasn't right, so I started backing everything up on a separate external drive I kept with me. One night, I logged in to finish my quarterly report, and the entire folder disappeared. I didn't panic. I pulled up the backup and submitted it like nothing had happened. The next morning, during our review, I caught Todd glancing at me while they praised the report. He didn't say anything, but he looked annoyed. After that, things escalated. Someone started leaving notes on my desk that said things like, "Quit while you can," and "You don't belong here." One morning, my mug was missing. I found it 3 days later sitting inside the toilet tank in the third-floor bathroom. Another time, a photo of my wife and me disappeared, and later turned up behind the vending machine covered in dust and coffee grounds. I took everything to HR. Jennifer, the rep, listened with the kind of polite concern you see from a flight attendant before turbulence. She nodded a lot and said she could do nothing without proof. When I asked if they could check the cameras, she said they weren't positioned near the desks. Then she told me maybe I was just being overly sensitive. I left that office with my heart racing and my hands shaking. I brought a small camera hidden inside a desk plant that night. I had already checked the company policy. Personal desk items were allowed, and there were no rules against silent video recording. The footage showed Todd waiting until I left for lunch. He went through my drawers, opened my laptop, plugged in a flash drive, and deleted files from my local folder. I took the footage straight to Jennifer. She watched it once, then folded her hands and said the video might violate privacy expectations. She warned me to remove the camera or risk getting written up for creating a hostile work environment. A week later, someone used my email to send inappropriate messages to a client. It was the final straw. I was placed on leave and told an internal investigation would follow. During that leave, I contacted an attorney. I learned that since our state only required one-party consent, the footage I had collected was perfectly legal. My lawyer encouraged me to dig deeper. I contacted a few former employees. 3 of them had also experienced issues with Todd. None of them had gotten any help from HR. One of them mentioned that Jennifer and Todd went to the same college. A quick social media search confirmed it. They were still friends. Using my admin permissions, I accessed logs that showed repeated late-night access to my files from Todd's credentials. I recovered security footage, compiled deleted emails, and built a timeline. I submitted everything in a report and sent it directly to the CEO, the general counsel, and the board. 2 days later, I was asked to come in for a meeting. When I walked into that room, the CEO stood up to shake my hand. He apologized for everything. He said the company had failed me and that it would be corrected. Todd was fired immediately. Jennifer was placed on leave and terminated the following week for misconduct and failure to report a conflict of interest. I was reinstated with full pay, promoted to a senior role, and offered a seat on the employee policy board.